It all started on an ordinary Thursday afternoon. The kind of day where life feels heavy but you keep moving because you have no choice. Daniel, a single dad of two, was running late from work. He had just picked up his kids from school and stopped by the grocery store to grab some essentials: milk, bread, and cereal. Money was tight that week, like it always seemed to be these days. He worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, and every dollar counted. The store was crowded, and his kids were restless. His youngest, Emma, tugged on his sleeve, asking for a chocolate bar. He smiled, promising, "Next time, sweetheart." He hated saying no, but the truth was, every small expense mattered. He finally reached the checkout line, relieved to be almost done. That's when he noticed her, the cashier. She was young, probably in her early 20s, with tired eyes and a polite smile that didn't quite reach her face. But something caught Daniel's attention. Her hands, they were trembling. At first, he thought maybe she was just cold, but the store was warm. As she scanned his items, the shaking didn't stop. If anything, it seemed to get worse. Daniel handed her the money and couldn't help but ask softly, "Are you okay? Why are your hands shaking?" The question seemed to take her by surprise. She froze for a second, and Daniel instantly regretted asking. He didn't want to make her uncomfortable. He opened his mouth to apologize, but then she looked up at him, eyes welling with tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "It's just, I haven't eaten in 2 days." Daniel felt like the ground disappeared beneath him. For a moment, he couldn't even speak. 2 days. How was that possible? This girl was working, scanning groceries all day, and she couldn't afford to eat. The cashier quickly wiped her tears, trying to compose herself. "I'm fine," she said, forcing a smile that broke Daniel's heart. "Please, don't worry about it." But how could he not? He glanced at the bag of groceries he just bought for his kids, and without thinking, he slid a loaf of bread and some fruit toward her. "Here," he said firmly. "Please take this." Her eyes widened. "No, no, I can't. You have kids." "I insist," Daniel interrupted. "You need this more than we do." By now, the line behind him was watching quietly, but no one said a word. The young woman stared at the food, her lips trembling as tears streamed down her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't know what this means to me." Daniel smiled gently, even though inside, he felt a storm of emotions: anger that someone working hard could still go hungry, sadness that the world could be so cruel, and a deep sense of gratitude that he was able to help, even in a small way. He gathered his kids and started to leave, but then his son, Liam, tugged on his shirt. "Dad," he said softly, "can we give her the chocolate bar?" Daniel turned and saw Emma holding the candy she had begged for earlier. Without hesitation, she walked over and placed it on the counter in front of the cashier. "This is for you," Emma said shyly. The cashier broke down completely. She covered her face and sobbed, loud, gut-wrenching sobs that drew tears to Daniel's own eyes. He walked back and placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "It's going to be okay," he said. "Hang in there." As he drove home, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about her words. "I haven't eaten in 2 days." That sentence echoed in his mind like a haunting melody. He thought about all the times he complained about working late, about how hard life felt as a single parent. But this was different. This was survival. That night, after putting his kids to bed, Daniel logged onto social media and shared the story, not for attention, but because he wanted people to remember something important. Kindness costs nothing, but it can mean everything. Within hours, his post went viral. People from the community came together to help that young woman. Donations poured in. She was able to buy groceries, pay her rent, and even get a better job. Weeks later, Daniel stopped by the same store. She wasn't working there anymore, but he had her number. They had stayed in touch. She told him that moment, the simple question, the loaf of bread, the chocolate bar, changed her life. Daniel smiled as he read her text one more time. "You reminded me that there are still good people in this world. Thank you for seeing me when I felt invisible." And that's when Daniel realized something. Sometimes, the greatest impact we make on someone's life starts with the smallest act of kindness. A loaf of bread, a chocolate bar, or just caring enough to ask, "Are you okay?" Because you never know what battle someone is fighting. And you never know how much your kindness can mean. So next time you see someone struggling, don't look away. Be the reason they believe in hope again. Now, let me ask you this, if you were in Daniel's shoes, what would you have done? Would you walk away? Or would you make a difference? Because in the end, it's not about what we have, it's about what we give. And sometimes, what we give is the very thing that saves someone's life.